has
Done.
struck the 7 p.m. hour, so we'll officially call the August 24th Town Board Work Session to order, and we'll let the minutes reflect that all the board members are present, and we're members of staff, and before us we have two sets of minutes. We have our July 27th. There was some minor changes made to that. I believe Councilwoman Metzler and Councilman Quinn made some adjustments to that. Everybody got the revised copy. So that will be the first one that I would entertain a motion of approval, if everyone is good with that.
I'll move to approve as amended the July 27th.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, so the July 27th minutes will stand approved as revised. We next have the August 10th, 2016 minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll move it. Okay.
So it's moved by Quinn, seconded by Cole.
Sure.
Okay, any discussion on those minutes? Okay, seeing none, those will stand approved as written. Lisa, thank you. I think we're now officially caught up.
Yep.
All right, very good. No monthly reports. Everything was in for the month, so we're all caught up and even with the board. No public hearings tonight, no guests tonight. We do have we have one action item, and that is revision to condominiums, 2 apartments at South Point Cove. Mr. Valentine, I think Mr. Costello passed that on to you. And I don't see anyone representing the South Cove folks.
Don't believe they're coming. I reached out, I spoke to their engineer today just to clarify a few things. But I say this board originally, October 17th, 2012, approved 10 buildings as part of the South Point Cove, 358 apartment units. Back in 2014, they came back for building number 10 and wanted to convert that to condos. So in that changeover, they moved from 358 units down to 339 units with the condo change. They've looked at the market and have not had the market there for what they want to do with the condos. So they're not finding that they're selling those. The rentals are going well in the rest of the units. So they are coming back and asking to switch back to apartment units for building number 10. It will not affect the overall number, actually less than what this board originally approved. So the board approved 358, the change to the condo units and losing one building, because it went from 10 buildings to 9 buildings, took it down to 339 units. So then with the condos, there were 24 units in the condo. This new apartment building makes it 26, so it's a net increase of 2, but we're still at that 339 number instead of the board's original 358.
No change in the footprint?
No change in the...
Same building plans, so it's really just inside specs?
It's just an inside layout. It'll no longer be for sale condos. It's just the rental units, similar building style look as what they currently have, but just that the for sale units, they won't get in the demand that they have.
Was this the one that had its own swimming pool and its underground parking?
It does.
And so what happens with all of that now?
That I'm not positive on. I know it's switching back to apartments. The other buildings have underground parking as well,
Okay.
so I'd assume they'd keep those similar. As far as the pool, I guess that's the one element that I don't know if it would have its own separate pool or if they're going to eliminate that piece of it. But
Okay.
the other buildings do have, at least one unit as an underground parking. This building had some outbuildings, for additional parking. I can clarify as whether those are still needed as well. But I think they were just looking for initial thought of the board as they were okay, with switching back from.
Are they going to be
forced to-
presenting us with a plan, a prototype of what it's going to look like again, to not only refresh our recollection, but to Andy's point about outside, exterior, what's changing,
I can have them prepare that. and provide it to the
landscaping,
board.
Or
instead
what
of pool? or-
factors has gone into their market study as far as
Yeah.
rental versus, I'm not in favor of this.
Okay.
So I'd be curious to know what hardship or what efforts they've gone through to determine that they can't sell these. If it's just because the price is too high, that's not a legit reason for me. I think they need to work a little harder than at finding the correct price point for these.
Or can't rent them.
Right.
as
Yeah,
built,
so,
perhaps not.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of amending this to a an apartment building as opposed to condos. Without at least further information, and even then, I probably will not be too open to the idea, but
Obviously, we can ask for that information,
Yeah.
ask for what's going to happen with the pool. The other garages, they had some
Yeah.
supplemental garages on it.
for 2 cars, I mean, not only that, they had a second,
They came back to the board for a supplemental to basically enclose, there were surface parking spaces and they wanted garages for those, so.
And it would still be the same height as the condos?
Yeah, I believe the exterior, to my understanding, would be the same as
I'm just
what it is
wondering
today.
how-
This is the building number 10,
It
it's,
looked like the other part.
No, but I'm saying, is it going to be, when I talked about the footprint, I can see that if they want to put, say, another apartment building in the place of where these condos were going to be, so it's not going to look the same as,
I believe the exterior is going to be the same. I think the condo building was
the
intended.
condo building was as tall as the apartment
Yes.
buildings?
Yeah, it was the similar style, similar look. They just broke up the pieces internally to be
I didn't think it was as tall.
for sale units, but, I
Right.
mean, these are all things I can clarify.
Right.
We can have their engineer come back and
Yeah.
provide all that information.
Yeah,
to the
I
No,
board.
expected, if it's the same footprint, there's gonna be even less. I mean, that's something, in my mind, it sounds like something I would support, but I'd like to see the layout first. I mean, they should show us something,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is we'll hold until September 14th. We'll ask for some additional information. I think what I would like to ask for is for a representative to come in, whether that be the engineer or the developer or some combination thereof. In fairness, I think to this board, before we make any final decision, that we have one or both of them, and we need somebody that has the answers, I think, to any and all the questions that might come up.
This is not like a ministerial decision.
No,
I think
no.
it's more substantive, so they need to make a pitch to us, maybe the way to phrase it to them.
Okay. And I guess for some reason, I thought when I was speaking with Cas, so I may be mistaken, for some reason I thought that the engineer was going to be, Jess Sudol was going to be here to help answer some questions that the board may have. So that may
I know
be a misunderstanding on
I
my
traded
part.
phone calls with him today just to get some clarification on some items. I wasn't aware that he was attending.
Yeah, and again, I could be mistaken. I thought that that's what I had recalled the conversation being, because one of the questions I asked is that again, depending upon how significant the change, does the board have to go back and rehear it?
Yes.
And we may or may not have to do that. I think it depended upon what we hear back by way of feedback and things.
Were there boat slips, do you recall, that went with the condos as well?
I believe there was an agreement. I don't think there was a guarantee, but I think there was something, a link between the marina back and forth.
Globally, we need to look at what would be affected by this change if they're also down by the water.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mark. So we'll hold this, this will be, and again, I think what we'll probably do is we'll make them a guest at the 14th and have that dialogue so that we make sure we get any and all of our questions answered. And you've got a number of them that you can feed back, Jim, if you would, Mark.
Yep.
Okay, very good. That takes us to Public Works. So we have 7 random Knolls, full harmless agreement for a shed and a drainage easement.
We received a request from a resident on Random Knolls, that had a 10 by 12 shed, and that's going around. First page is his email request for the hold harmless agreement. The second page kind of shows the back of the shed is in the easement area, and then basically the center line of the drainage swale is about where the pine trees are in the back. So it shows, the final page, the flip out kind of shows, and it doesn't show the shed very well, but the shed's in this back corner. It is a 20-foot drainage easement, kind of on the back of their property, kind of on the neighbor's property. The pine trees are basically planted down the middle of where the drainage way is. I went out and took a look at the site. It appears that most of the drainage runs behind the shed, so I don't believe the shed is blocking. But I believe there's a lot of materials behind the shed that I think may be in the drainage way. So my recommendation would be at least to have those materials removed. There was some soil back there, there was some brush was piled up. You can see some pallets here. that's part of what was an old playground or something else, I think that material is more of an obstruction to the drainage way than I believe the shed is. They still need a setback variance from the zoning board, but they're coming to this board first. If they didn't get a hold harmless agreement from this board, no sense in
How did
pursuing
this
it.
even come up? It's been so dry and everything.
I don't think it was a complaint. I think they were, Phil D'Alessandro was working with Andy, I think, cleaning up some old issues and concerns. So I think as he's going through, trying to clean up some records, this one came up. I went out there with Phil and took a look at it. Again, I said I didn't really have a concern for the shed itself, but there's some piles of dirt behind that, some brushy debris, the pallets that are there, some other things that I think if those things are cleaned up and the drainage way is maintained, I don't have so much issue with the shed. They still would have to go to the zoning board to get a setback variance because it's within the 10-foot rear setback.
Okay.
Okay. Board, good with that. Mark, you will prepare the proper information back via the resolution for that, and then certainly one of the things we'll want is, for your recommendation to the board, is getting some materials cleaned up that are acting as an impairment potentially to drainage. Let's make sure that that's part of that as well. So,
And can it also be that it continues to not be obstructed? So that also is part of the condition is that they continue to maintain that unobstructedly.
okay. Very good. Thank you, Mark. Our next item, our second item under Public Works is 4 Pond Valley Circle fence in the town right-of-way. Mr. Valentine.
This was an item that actually came to the board a couple of months ago. A neighbor came in and had some concerns about buffering between him and his neighbor. Wanted to install a fence along that property line, the property line being actually a drainage easement for us. So first and foremost, wanted to locate a fence in the drainage easement. We got a hold harmless agreement for it. What he submitted actually on the plan shows, I think this is where some mistaken information came up. On the front of the plan, it shows the right-of-way on his survey map. So the front part of the plan shows the right-of-way line, and then he was showing a 6-foot gap back from the right-of-way. This is what the board approved. I believe the resident believed he was showing that as the edge of the road, or the back edge of the gutter, and was asking for a 6-foot offset from the back edge of the gutter. So I think there was some miscommunication between the neighbor of what he was intending and what this board approved. So obviously the fence was installed. This shows the stake that's out there. There's some blow-ups of the stake showing where the right-of-way is. But in the picture, you can see the wooden lap in this photo here that shows where the right-of-way is. So this is the right-of-way to this property.
Pictures of it completed right now?
Yes, these are installed pictures on the second page. Yep. And it shows he's compliant with the height in the front yard.
Is it up to the mailbox? Is it the same?
It's back of where the mailbox would be, but it's 6 foot off the back of the road. So he believed he was in compliance, showing it 6 foot off the edge of the road. His plan showed it 6 foot back of the right-of-way. So the wooden lath shows where the right-of-way is, so the 6 foot back would actually remove these 2 panels.
Yeah.
Obviously, the neighbor installed it, he paid for it, would like to keep it. Conversations, I went out there and looked at it in conversations with the DPW, they at least would like to see that first panel go.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
It's gonna go.
Plowing snow,
That's
that was maintained.
Yeah.
That open area, so at the very least, I brought them out there, asked them to take a look at it, what issues, concerns do you have? They said, obviously pushing snow, this last year was a mild year, but if we had a heavier snow, they gotta push it back, they potentially would damage that first panel.
Yeah.
Did you talk to the neighbor at all about this panel right here,
I said,
or the owner?
yes, I spoke to him on the phone, and he was gonna try to make it this evening. I said, the DPW at very least would like to see that to go. I said, to be in compliance, you'd have to take both panels out or come back to the town board. He said, I'd like to come back to the town board. So obviously his intent is he'd like to keep as much as he could.
Right.
But at least with the DPW, we'd like to see that first panel removed.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, of the board, are you okay with one panel being in the right-of-way
Yeah, I'm
and remove the panel?
I'm fine with this because I agree. I think that he's gonna come out someday and this is gonna be all damaged anyways from snow.
Or next door.
Yeah, so I'm fine with removing this and allowing him to maintain this panel.
Right, and we still have a hold harmless agreement that all of the fence could be removed as needed, so we have that as kind of a...
And I think the piece on this, the understanding is that any damage that is done to this, is that his responsibility. So if we have that heavy
technically in our
year.
right away, and if we need to come through there for
whatever,
any
so-
other
okay.
utility work, but, so I did share with them that that was DPW's recommendation. He still wanted to come and, I think at least, ask for as much of the fence as he could keep for the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the agreement is we'll take that first panel out, and then he also understands that while there is a piece of it in the right-of-way, again, that is something that's his responsibility, and any damage that might result in snow plowing or anything else, that's his responsibility, or their responsibility. Okay. We're good with that?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Put my mailbox on the end of this fence, and then this fence will be saved.
The third item is mixed-use draft scoping review, and hence why our good friend Zachariah is here with us tonight, as he's becoming more of this whole mixed-use seeker, scoping guy, and everything in between. So, Zach, it says Valentine, but we know who the expert is, so you're on.
There's hidden text under there. That's
All right, very good.
Well, thanks for having me back again. As an update, we previously met with the board on July 13th at the work session meeting to discuss seeker items that included the lead agency status, the positive declaration determination, and the draft scoping outline. On the 20th, from that meeting, the board had no issues with taking lead agency, declaring a positive declaration, and accepting the draft scoping document. On the 20th, the resolution was passed by the board in the ledge session to put that resolution through. And since then, a comment period was also opened following that resolution to open up public comments on the draft scoping document. The draft scoping document, again, was prepared in advance of the preparation for a generic impact statement that goes along with a rezoning application or a project of this nature. The scoping comment period on the document was open from July 21st to August 20th, which recently closed, and why we're here today. We've compiled the comments that were collected, or that were submitted, I'm sorry. There were 4 of them. 3 came from the public residents, 1 came from the Monroe County Water Authority. Those comments were provided Monday, to the board in an email. And today we received a letter after reaching out to Doug Fox with Fox Planning Services, who helped us just take a second look at these comments to see if any of them were substantive in their context with regards to the scoping document. His letter is the first document you have in front of you. The comments that were collected are behind that. His response to the comments, to the 4 of them, to summarize, they were more or less premature to the overall project. They are comments that more or less regard to the generic impact statement or the draft manual that was previously submitted to the board with this project. So at this point, with that being said, does the board have any questions about the comments that were issued? We can discuss those tonight.
So based on so just so I'm clear, Zach, so the question is, based on the information that we got from these 4 entities, one entity and 3 residents, are you asking us, are we okay with what we saw for them, what Doug responded to, or some combination thereof?
The question, I should have phrased it better, I apologize. Does the board feel that these comments, and Mark, feel free to step in if I screw up. Does the board feel that any of these comments should be included in the scoping document that's already been prepared? As in, do you see any issues here that haven't been covered in the scoping document previously?
Well, what do you think?
That's what we felt, was that the scoping document does cover the issues raised in these comments. Doug Fox also agreed with those in his letter. Sorry for not stating that earlier.
No, not a problem.
These comments will be made part of the record, they'll be attached to this draft scope. Basically, we're just looking to see if, I mean, obviously this was just see if there's anything new out there we didn't have. We talked
This
about,
isn't anything new, but it's going to be...
I mean, these are
out of
comments that
respect.
will be addressed in the GIS. What's matter to see is whether we had a wide enough scope. We looked at traffic, we looked at drainage, we looked at view shed, we talked about sanitary sewers, so this was the public's opportunity to say, hey, you didn't think of this, or if the board had any questions. So comments received, yes, you know, they'll be addressed and through the process, but just is the scope there as they prepare this draft document? Is there anything else we need to include or anything else that needs to be
Doesn't
added to
appear
the
so.
scope? So these comments will be attached to that. It's part of that generic environmental impact statement once we complete that. But if the board's comfortable saying, yeah, we're good with the scope, we'll finalize that and then, you know, look to move ahead with the draft generic
The
impact
comments
statement.
appear to be covered by the draft scope and will be in more detail addressed in the generic.
Definitely, yep. Yeah, that'll, much more breadth in that document, and we'll get deeper into those, and then obviously that'll be another public review period. Open that back up, and the public has more opportunity to, you know, provide additional comments and questions at that as well. So this doesn't, by any means...
It doesn't get lost.
It doesn't get lost, and this by any means does not conclude the public comment period on that, just for the scope. Move on to the next step, and then, you know, once the generic impact statement, draft generic impact statement is prepared,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
the public can comment once again.
I agree with Paul as I take a look at this. So this is the first time that I had to look at Mr. Fox's comment, but I think the summary is very appropriate. The draft scope appears to be complete and in compliance with the seeker, and that the town board consider the draft scope as a comprehensive foundation for the DEIS. So I agree with what is being recommended, feedback back from staff on this.
Right, so the next actions would be, if the board's comfortable, would be a resolution on the 9th for
Good luck.
accepting the final...
7th?
Yep.
Okay.
We could prepare a resolution for the 9th to accept the final...
Still the 7th.
Still the 7th.
Still the 7th.
September 7th.
September 7th, what did I say?
9th.
Whoa,
You're
sorry.
thinking 9-7.
9/7. I wrote that a couple times, apologies.
Not a problem. So you'll have that. So we'll have that resolution for
Yes,
the 7th.
yes, to accept the final draft, to accept the final scoping document.
Final scoping.
And begin preparation of the draft generic impact statement. Okay.
Great. I think we're all there. Board, good?
Yep.
All right, anything else from staff that above and beyond what we've chatted about or comments that Doug has prepared for us?
No, we just thank him for his continued services.
Okay, great. Then we'll move forward. We'll look forward to that resolution.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Good efforts, continue to move this, recognizing that it's kind of been a pretty significant project, so continue to move that forward, so thank you for that. Our under Public Works number 4, 56 Willowhurst drainage easement abandonment. And we've got the planning engineering team here that's hogging the show tonight.
This map just kind of shows in the center of the document, so the blue hatched under 56 Willowhurst, the corner of Willowhurst and Foxport. We, in our system, show that we have a drainage easement in that location. So going back to 1966, we have an easement that was drafted, it was signed. I don't believe it was ever filed. And I don't believe it was ever filed because the pipes aren't actually in that location. So the original subdivision went forward.
Very good reason why.
So on this map right here, right in the middle, this is basically shows a snapshot of our web portal, or GIS. there's a blue portion here in this lot 56 that we show that we have a drainage easement through their property.
We don't? We do.
We have the easement, and according to our attorney, he says it's showed on the filed plat map. So the filed plat map shows the easement boundary, but I don't think the easement itself
But
is filed.
there's nothing there that's
And
draining
there's no
anything.
pipes in there, but they want to put a shed in the location. So
Okay.
it's kind of, we're abandoning or proposing to abandon an easement that quasi exists, because it's on a filed plat map.
Right.
So according to Horowitz, he says if it's showed on the map, it's an easement that
Well, there's a
exists.
We gotta have a process.
But the actual easement,
Yep.
I don't believe was ever filed, so it's
Got it.
kind of roundabout, but the piping comes down the street and goes on the south side of the house. So this is the map that the neighbors prepared for us. They came back showing the easement on the south side of the property, the 30-foot utility easement area along there is where actually we have piping and stormwater that goes through there. So rather than cutting along the north line and then going on the west side of the property, it runs on the south side of the house. So they came to us and said, we want to put a shed in, and I said, well, I got to abandon an easement first, and they said, but the easement doesn't exist, and I said, well, it sort of does, because it was on a
Because it was a filed
plat map. So I said,
Yeah.
we just got to follow process, bring it to the town board, and
So as we're doing this, I just want to ask, do we have to consider a similar type of thing for 79?
yes, and that's the part I would look at, and I should have put it in the agenda, but
Okay.
if we're abandoning that, basically that easement goes through their house.
So
we would
essentially this
put
will be
forth
a
an
combination
abandonment
of
to abandon all of
56
them.
and 79.
The blue easement, and that would clean up a future
Are the
issue for
folks
that.
at 79 aware of this, or is this something we can?
Something we'll let them know
Okay.
if and
Maybe
when
it might be
they
from the neighbors
sold or
anyway.
closed their house and somebody pulled out an old map, you know, then it caused them a little angst in the future, so if
Yeah,
we
why not?
can clean that situation up,
So
so.
that would be good, Mark. And then just more clarification, you know, if I take a look just to the east of that, there's that little orange area that goes into 79B, which I would assume is some type of either a pond or some dedicated land.
There's a drainage area that we own back in
Yeah,
there.
so, and so that little orange piece, what does that represent?
I'll check. Obviously,
Okay.
we wouldn't need an easement on our own property, so whether that
Right,
exists,
yeah.
we can abandon that at one fell swoop
Clean up-
and just
clean the
clean
whole
up that
thing up.
whole area, but
Could be an
Okay,
access
terrific.
easement.
could be, but maybe at that point it wasn't dedicated to us, so we took sometimes
We
those are
may have
temporary
taken a
construction
temp-
easements.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
just showing up on there, but
Great.
basically we're abandoning that blue section that is not needed, but so it's just kind of a cleanup effort.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, everybody's good with that, that item? Okay, and so we'll put the appropriate paperwork together for that one. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. There's nothing further to come before the town board. The August 24th, 2016 work session will stand adjourned at 7:28 PM. Thank you, staff. Thank you, board. Thank you, Lisa.